I released a reflection on faith and abundance. 3 days later, at the hotel, I was told about a $300 surprise charge. Then, less than 24 hours after I arrived out of town, a blizzard alert back home woke me up. All airports were expected to close and flights were expected to be canceled. In my natural response to both, did I just fail my own lesson? My own message? I want to share an experience that happened, how I moved through it, and what, if anything, I'm still wrestling with. Great things, great things, great things. Welcome in to Words on a Higher Note. Our space to reflect, reset, rise, and remember who we really are beneath the layers. I'm your host, Jalen, and I'm glad you're here. The title of today's bonus reflection is Face to Face with Abundance. Before we begin, a quick reminder. This reflection is a moment and an invitation to reconnect with yourself when life tests you quickly. It is not therapy or medical advice. A few days after reflection number 18, Abundance Mindset, a faith reflection on generosity and overflow, went live, I traveled out of town. Within an hour of arriving, something came up that tested my faith, my trust, and pressed on my disposable funds. An amount I had been quoted shifted upward by $300, with the promise, however, that it would be refunded at the end of my stay. The Holy Quran reminds us in Surah Al-Baqarah 2:155, and we shall certainly try you with something of fear and hunger, and loss of property and lives and fruits, and give good news to the patient. This, what I was dealing with, what I was faced with in that moment, was that test, and it arrived fast. Something of fear. I'm thinking, if I don't have the unexpected funds, that increase of $300, where would I stay for 3 nights? And loss of property, in this case, the property is the funds allocated for something else that I had to move to pay for the hotel. After speaking with the manager, and this is where being humble comes in at. After speaking with the manager and explaining that I called twice, as recent as last week, to confirm 1, my room, and 2, the amount due. And at no point, never, 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 I was never informed about this additional deposit. Thankfully, he reduced it to $100, and it was immediately refunded to me after I checked out. Then, as I'm going on with my trip, less than 24 hours later, and to be exact, it was 17 hours after arriving, I woke up to an alert about an anticipated blizzard that would be in its second day on the day I was supposed to travel home. Say, what? Did I not know about this before I left? Would it have mattered? This is, thoughts. And this predicted blizzard was planning to drop 13 to 16 inches. Now, the airport I flew into, or out of, that I was going to fly back into, received 15.1 inches. And my neighborhood received a minimum of 16 inches, just to give you a picture. And this blizzard was not only going to cause hours of delays, it was going to cause days of delays. So where I was supposed to come back in on Monday, I wouldn't be coming home until Wednesday at the earliest. And I was faced with the real possibility of being stuck in another city. And again, not knowing when I would actually make it home. So now it's not just the money of having to put out more money. It's the money and the weather. It's, do I stay and wait out a possible storm? Or do I change my flight, go home early, and avoid what could become a multi-day travel hazard? In the beginning, the middle, and the end, I chose to change my flight and come home ahead of the blizzard. And I want to be transparent. There was literally no hesitation in me about whether I should stay. I didn't sit there going back and forth about riding out the storm. My body, my mind, my spirit all moved in the same direction. Go home, if you can get a flight. I was on hold with the airline for almost an hour because I needed to speak with a person to make this change. I was not going to rely on technology for this. And if I'm being honest, and you all know that I am very honest, the primary driver, the primary force of my decision was not wanting to be stranded by natural occurrence. Money wasn't first, but it was definitely a close second, because every extra day stuck would start depleting what I needed for food, to pay for the lodging. And the biggest thing on my mind was not being able to get home and being forced into a situation I hadn't prepared for. In preparation of this trip, I planned everything with meticulous detail. The lodging, the airfare, transportation, food, tips, even what I might spend with the vendors. Every dollar, every penny had an assignment. So when these extra costs started hitting, or had the potential to start hitting, they didn't just inconvenience me. They spun a carefully built plan off its axis. The unexpected deposit pulled money that was allotted for food. The extended lodging would have gone into funds from resources that should not be touched for this type of situation. The thought of having to spend extra nights in a hotel or sleep in an airport with no clear end date did not sit well with me at all. I have never been in a situation where I was delayed getting home for days. And that kind of stuck is unfamiliar to me. And everything in me said, if you can avoid it, do it. And I like to think ahead. And while I am not able to see everything that is coming, I like to prepare. So being caught in a multi-day disruption I hadn't planned for goes against how I'm wired to my core. It doesn't feel safe or settled. It didn't feel safe or settled in my body. And the Holy Quran speaks to this in Surah 64, Al-Taghabun, the manifestation of losses, verse 11. It says, no calamity befalls but by Allah's permission, and whoever believes in Allah, He guides his heart, and Allah is knower of all things. That guidance came from me. It guided my heart to make the decision to leave. And in going through this and just looking at it, and because and the outcome, how I see it now, I traveled willingly and eager to spend whatever I needed to spend to be at this event. And still, God covered me. I was refunded what I put down, meaning the money that for those other 2 nights, I received it back. I also avoided costs for food and transportation. And in the end, I was $500 ahead. How, you may say? Well, again, due to the shortened hotel stay, the food, and I was blessed to sell my event tickets to someone who needed them. It wasn't just a want. Somebody needed the tickets. And so I was able to sell the tickets. And my choice of catching a flight ahead of the storm put me ahead. And I believe and hold that Psalm 121, 7 through 8, that the Lord keeps me from all harm as I come and go. And like in Proverbs 3:23 through 26, it says, I'll travel safely because God is right there with me. Once I understood what the forecast was really saying, I alerted others who would be traveling too. And my intention wasn't to stir up any fear in them. My goal was to inform them. Like I'm saying, well, hey, this is what the weather's looking like at home. Check your plans, check what you want to do, and make a decision that feels wise for you. And that was the same energy I was holding for myself. I wasn't panicking, but I was aware. I wasn't in denial, but I was dealing in preparation. And even with all of that, I still asked myself some questions throughout and afterwards. And still, when I wondered if I was moving from fear or panic, I remembered the story in Mark 4:39 to 41, where Jesus calms the storm and asks his disciples, why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? And that question stayed with me. Did I move from panic or did I move from wisdom? Was I trying to control everything or was I partnering with God using the information in front of me? Was I always going to choose getting home back to a familiar place so I could have peace of mind? And these questions I'm still mulling over. Because I talk about faith and abundance, I also live in a real body, on real roads, in real weather, with real bills and real responsibilities. And I believe God meets me in all of that, not outside of it. And for now, this is where I am. Changing my flight and being aware of money does not automatically mean I stepped outside of faith. It might actually be one way faith showed up for me, as wisdom, as stewardship, as listening to the quiet nudge that said, go home early. Abundance for me is not pretending that constraints don't exist. It is remembering that God is the source, even when I'm making careful, grounded decisions inside my human limits in a very real blizzard. And my spirit, my foresight put me in abundance. It didn't take me out of it or teeter me on an invisible line. So instead of judging myself, I'm asking, what part of me was speaking the loudest when I clicked or told the agent, change the flight? If it was fear, then that's a place for healing and deeper trust. And I have to work on that. If it was wisdom and peace, then that's my faith in motion and not my faith abandoned. And I'm sharing this story because it isn't just my story. It's a bearing of witness. I know I'm not the only one who wrestles with these types of decisions. And maybe for you it isn't a blizzard. and a $500 difference. Maybe it's a move you didn't make, a trip you canceled, an opportunity you delayed because money, timing, or safety spoke up. So I invite you to, instead of berating yourself or calling it a lack of faith, I want to invite you to sit down with your own questions. What voice was leading you in that moment? Did you feel a sense of peace anywhere in that decision? And what might abundance look like inside the choice you actually made, not just the one you think I should have made, you know? And as I said, I'm still unpacking this for myself. And I may come back to it in a future reflection once the unpacking is complete, if it ever is. But what I know now and do not have to unpack is my feelings, my thoughts, and my decisions are true to me. I also do not have to unpack that the God I believe in is the best of planners. And I was meant to come home when I did. And I may never know God's reason, and that is okay with me. I want to acknowledge and honor the fact that life didn't wait long to test what I said I believed, of having an abundance mindset. The test came right away in real time, and I'm choosing to let that be part of my growth instead of evidence that I don't believe what I teach or what I share. And sometimes we're tested before words leave our mouths or thoughts leave our minds. And we have to be ready to sit or stand for the test. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share this in-between moment with you to bring you into this very real, very present, very personal conversation I'm having with myself and God. And if this reflection offered a thought, a feeling, a moment of clarity, you are invited to share it. Post it, leave a comment on the Words on a Higher Note listen page or on the streaming platform where you are listening. Let's stay connected. Follow or subscribe so future reflections meet you when they arrive. Thank you for tuning in to Words on a Higher Note, where reflection meets elevation, where grace meets growth, where personal evolution is not rushed, but embraced, honored, and celebrated. Until next time, keep listening for the higher note. Say, be, and it is.